great to be back here with Warren. It really is. You guys look tired. You guys, it was nice to sit there and just to watch you guys work today. It really was. Besides Coach Mendoza's dynamic warm-up that almost killed me just watching you guys go through it. You guys did some really great things out there. You really did. I hope you enjoyed your dinner. I know I did. I have to get back on a diet on Monday because the last thing I want to do is look like Warren here in a few years. But besides that point, I told Warren I was going to just totally disregard my speech and turn this into a roast of him. But Warren's a great guy. I fully support what he's trying to do here today. It's a great opportunity for the Texas Panhandle, you guys as athletes, to get out there and show what you got, because so many times there's these big name colleges that ultimately just fly into South Texas and they can find all the talent they need in South Texas, and the Texas Panhandle kids are totally neglected. They're just totally looked over, and there are some great athletes in this room today. So I'm in fully support of what he's doing and what he's taking the time to do for you guys. It really is a great thing. I could stand up here and talk about me for the next 15, 20 minutes. I do believe that I would be missing the point, though. The point is, I have an opportunity to sit here and to say a few words to you guys that ultimately can possibly change your life, or maybe change your outlook on life itself. The one thing I do want you guys to understand, that as you go through this life, that it's not about you. It's never about you. And it's never about me, but it is about other people. That's one point that you cannot ever forget. I was sitting in my hotel room earlier. I was kind of procrastinating on writing this speech and ultimately gathering my thoughts on what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. I started to think about my career in the high school career, my college career, and ultimately where I am today. And I started thinking about specific moments throughout each portion of my career. And I got to, I was going through college, and I was ultimately remembering when I was called up to become a starter as a freshman. We were getting ready to play Cincinnati. We were learning a new coverage that week, what we like to call coverage 8. It's a bracket coverage, kind of a high-low concept that ultimately, if there's a good player on their offense that you kind of want to key on, this allows for you to have double teams for that person. And I honestly could not understand this coverage for the life of me. Just kept on repeating the same mistakes over and over. And I was frustrated, and I was so angry, and I was just so mad at myself because I was getting the opportunity to step up and to start, and I kept messing up. Ultimately, the coach said, you know what, you messed up enough. Let's just go on. We'll work on this tomorrow. He looked me in the eyes, and he just said, it's time to step up, kid. And that's pretty much all he said to me. So, upset, discouraged, angry, I went home that night. When I say home, I went to a stone room barracks at West Point. But I decided to prepare for tomorrow's practice. I decided to think about this coverage, break down this coverage and take in each part of this coverage, and to learn what I had to do. I had to plan out on how I would execute this coverage properly. So I started taking each detail of it and going over it in my head and over in my head and over in my head, to the point where I felt I was ready for this coverage for tomorrow. I was ready to execute it properly. So the next morning, I woke up about 5:30 in the morning and prepared for my freshman, what we're called plebes. I was prepared for my freshman duties. Each plebe, you have a duty in the morning, so you're either taking out trash or delivering newspapers, you're picking up laundry for the upperclassmen. And as I was preparing for that duty that morning, I was excited. I ultimately was excited. I was excited for the day, and I was excited for practice. I was not very excited about the fact that I was about to get yelled at because my room was an extreme mess, or the fact that I totally neglected to study for my chemistry quiz that I had later that day because I was so focused on cover 8. But I was excited that I had an opportunity to show Coach what I was made of. I had an opportunity to prove to him that I can do cover 8 and I am the right man for the job. So we went through the day, and practice came around. And what happened that day was we went to practice, we got to red zone, and we got to cover 8, and you would think that I completely dominated this play. But I messed up. all my planning for it, I completely neglected it, and I failed at this coverage time after time. Ultimately, where coach pretty much said, hey, this kid can't understand this coverage, just throw it out the game plan, and let's just move on. He's got to play on Saturday, but since he cannot execute this coverage properly, we just can't run it, and we got to move on. And if you ever know what it feels like to have a coverage thrown out the game plan simply because you're the only person on the defense that cannot execute, it's not a good feeling. And I hope none of you sitting here today ever have to go through that feeling in life, because it's not fun. All the team is looking at you, and you feel like you're kind of the weak link of the team. Well, that day, I decided that, you know what, it's okay. I talked to coach after practice, and ultimately we kept the coverage in practice. He worked with me. But the point from this story that I want you to take is at some point in each and every one of your lives, you're going to plan so well, but you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail at things time after time. It's reality. We are imperfect people, and we are born into an imperfect world. But what I want you to know about these mistakes and failures, they are not final. Each time you make a mistake, each time you fail at something, they're not final. And they're especially not final in the eyes of God. I would love to stand up here and tell you that you're going to go on from here and just live this mistake-free life. I would love to, but it's not reality. It really isn't. We were born into a world at war. And when I say a world at war, I'm not talking about the war that my classmates are so diligently and courageously fighting for our freedom every single day. I'm not talking about that war, but I'm talking about an inner war. The fact is that we were given free will. We were given the opportunity to make our own decisions in life. And through these decisions, you're going to make some bad ones. You're going to fail. You're going to mess up. But you are more than the mistakes you make in your life. You are more than that. What you have to remember is that mistakes and the failures in life, they can be your friend. They can offer you an opportunity to grow as a person. They can teach you. They can motivate you. You have to understand that mistakes and failure, well, that's closely related to risk. And risk is closely related to success. So, as you're sitting here today, you're going to fail in life, as I said before. Some of you are going to go on and fail at maybe in college courses. Some of you are going to fail at understanding a play and ultimately having it thrown out of a game plan. You have to understand that when you're facing these circumstances in your life, that these circumstances do not define you as a person. I don't care who you are, where you come from, your background, the problems that you've had in your life. Those are circumstances, and circumstances do not define you as a person. My younger brother was born with a deformed leg. He had 2 toes on his right leg. He had a fibula that was bowed at 90 degrees, and his tibia was completely missing. Soon after birth, the doctors told my parents that they were going to amputate his leg. But with the amputation of his leg, he would always walk with a limp. He would never be an athlete. He would really never be able to run at full speed. So as my younger brother progressed through the years and as he grew up, he realized that he wanted to be an athlete, and he didn't care what the doctor said. He watched me grow into the man I was and becoming the athlete that I was, and he wanted that, and he wanted that in his life. So what he did was he followed the desires of his heart, and he didn't let no doctor put a circumstance on his life define who he was. With that being said, he is now being considered one of the youngest and most prolific Paralympians in the history of the sport of track and field, after going to China to the Paralympic Games, winning 2 gold medals and shattering a world record at the age of 21. I say that story not to boast about my brother's accomplishments and what he's doing in this life, although he has every reason to be proud. I say that for you to truly understand that circumstances do not define who you are. Furthermore, in 2008, as a lot of you might know, I was told, after being drafted by the Detroit Lions, I was told that I would have to wait 2 years before I could ultimately play in the NFL. On the day of my contract signing, the Department of Defense and the Army called my agent, called the head coach, called the general manager of the Detroit Lions, and kind of said, hey, there's a hiccup. And they ultimately explained to me why I could not play. But they told me that I would have to wait 2 years before I could play in the National Football League, if I was afforded the opportunity. After going through that discussion and absolutely being heartbroken, because all my hard work and all my years of dedication was finally paying off, and I was ultimately getting the chance to play at the highest level, my agent gave up on me. Pretty much told me, Caleb, you're not going to have an opportunity at today's level of competition. There's no way that you're going to go 2 years of serving in the military and also keeping the level of competitiveness at the highest level and be ready for the National Football League. My coaches told me not to worry about it. Just take the easy road out. It's just not meant for you. It's not meant for you. The Army even told me just to become the best leader I could be. That, ultimately you're probably not even going to get the chance after 2 years. Well, make a long story short, I listened to my heart. I didn't allow the circumstances to define me that day. It would have been easy for me to give up. It would have been easy for me to take the easy road out. It would be easy for you guys to settle in life. It will be very easy for you to do that. I listened to the tug of my heart that day. Literally, I was laying in bed and I felt my heart speak to me, telling me there's more, to not give up, to continue, to fight, to persevere. And I did that. And for 2 years, by faith and by His grace, I worked diligently and persistently, knowing that what your heart tells you in life is the truth. Regardless of your circumstance in life, regardless of what you might be going through in your life, if you can continue to listen to your heart, it will never lead you astray. So that's what I did, and 2 years later I was afforded the one opportunity, one workout, after begging my agent to give me this workout. I was afforded this opportunity to have a private workout with these guys. I had the chance to run one 40-yard dash and to do a few change of direction drills. I weighed in at 239 pounds and I ended up running a 4.440. And right after that 40, I remember the head coach looking at me and just pretty much saying, "You're done for the day." I didn't have to do anything else. 2 days later, there was an NFL contract on my agent's desk for me. I say this to you not to talk about me, but just simply let you, I don't care what circumstances in your life, they don't define who you are. How you react to these circumstances, how you react to these mistakes, how you react to the failures that you might experience in your life, well, that does define who you are, because that is your character. Guys, football is not about the sport. It's not about the sport. It's not about the fans, the girls, the status, the cars, because you can't take any of that with you, man. But your character, that's who you are as a person, and that lasts a lifetime. You have to understand that greatness happens when a man meets mountain. You have to understand that victory is on the other side of battle. You have to go through a battle to obtain victory in life. But through that battle, you're going to understand that there's power in pain, there is strength in weakness. In a very important book, it clearly states, "For when I am weak, then I am strong." You guys have to understand that this is a time period in life when you're facing these unfortunate circumstances and you're facing these failures in your life. It's molding you, it's grooming you to ultimately be the man that God has created you to be. At West Point, I was educated, trained, and inspired to become a commissioned leader of character, committed to the values of duty, honor, and country. My time there truly did prepare me for a career of professional excellence. While I was there, and continually to this day, I'm a strong believer that you have to study the great to be the great. So day after day, what I did on my free time is I would study the greats of our nation, the generals, the leaders of our nation. And I wanted to ultimately, decide, like, how do they become a great leader? Because those same characteristic traits, I wanted them. I wanted to know about them. One of the great leaders that I studied was General Douglas MacArthur. He was a previous West Point cadet, but he made such a profound quote. That's one of the favorite quotes that I have today. And he said that on the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds that upon other fields on other days will bear the fruits of victory. I know that's a mouthful, but if you break that quote down, on the fields of friendly strife is simply the football field, the basketball courts, the weight room. What you learn on the basketball court, the football field, in the weight room will carry on in other fields of battle in your life. It takes perseverance, determination, diligence, persistence. Most importantly, it takes faith It takes all these things ultimately to define your character to succeed on the fields of friendly strife, to succeed on the football field, man. And what I want you to understand is that the man who grasps that concept will understand that these are the sole principles and values of what it takes to succeed off the football field in life itself. Men, it's not just a game, it's a way of life. Because the character that is needed to finish a workout, to finish practice, to finish the fourth quarter of a game that is about to enter into overtime, that character that is needed to do that is the same character that is needed for you as you're facing the battles that life might throw at you. So with that being said, embrace these tough times. Allow your character to grow. Stay true to yourself through this period of time, man. In a world where people are truly looking for better methods, for an easier way out, God is just looking for better men. And I say that from my heart because it's so easy to try to find the easy way, the get rich now scheme. But you were not made that. You were made to run a race that requires diligence, patience, endurance. But most importantly, a race that requires character. You cannot neglect the times in your life that is offering you, that is ultimately preparing you to become a man of character. Because God does not commit to men of talent. God commits to men of character. It's about your character, man. That's what's going to take you in this life. The last thing I want to touch about is the heart. You're sitting there thinking, oh, the heart. I'm a strong believer of the heart because ultimately we live by our heart, some of us. And when I think about the heart, I want to kind of talk to you about a few things about the heart. And ultimately, did you know that the heart is the most talked about subject in the Bible? It's not wisdom, it's not sin, it's not, faith, it's not anything else. The heart is the most talked about subject in the Bible. And there's a reason for it. Because it's important. Because they say from the heart flows the wellspring of life. Did you know that in the medieval times, as knights and their king were preparing for battle, they would sit around and the king ultimately would say to his knights that if I die in the midst of battles, you shall take my heart. And what that means is that if the king died in battle, his knights would physically cut his heart out of his body, and they would carry his heart with them as they went through the remaining parts of the battle. As they finished and they reached their destiny, where they were ultimately trying to go, they would take their heart with them because they felt it was that important. You see, men, each and every one of you were created for a specific destiny on this earth. A destiny that I can't fulfill for you. A destiny that your parents can't fulfill for you. My destiny you cannot fulfill. I cannot fulfill your destiny, man. A specific destiny. That's why you were created. And the only way you fulfill this destiny is by listening to your heart. This life was not meant to be lived at the expense of your heart or without your heart. You cannot live this life and leave your heart behind, because the life that you will live is no life at all. You have to understand that's written on the layers of your heart are your desires. And in your desires you find your destiny. The sole reason for your existence on this earth, the reason God created you, is your destiny. And it is found on the layers of your heart. So as you go on through this life, you have to listen to your heart. You have to mend your heart. You have to care for your heart. You cannot neglect it. When you're hurt and you're hurting, you have to listen to your heart. You have to allow your heart to be healed. Because it's so vital and so important. It is said that the wellspring of life flows from your heart. If you do not take care of your heart, what kind of life is going to be flowing from your heart? It's not the life that you were intended to live. I promise you, if you listen to your heart when you go through these times, that you are engaging in the most vibrant and successful life that you could ever imagine. So I want to challenge each and every one of you to realize that the mistakes and the times you fell in life, you are more than them. You are more than the mistakes. Allow them to build growth in you and build character in you. The circumstances that you might be facing one day, realize that on the other side of that circumstance might just be your destiny. And it's just a test to build character, to prepare you for what God has ultimately called you to be in this life. And I challenge you as you continue to live in this life that you do not neglect your heart and you live a life from your heart. You do not live a life and leave your heart behind you. I wish you all the best of luck as you continue on with this sacred journey otherwise known as life. You all did a great job today, and I'm excited to hear your names in the near future of doing great things with whatever college you might choose. And the last thing I want to tell you is never allow football to define who you are, men, because you had a life before you enter football and you will have a life after you leave football. If you put your identity in football, you will be shattered one day because it is movable. You have to put your identity in something that's unmovable, unshakable, much stronger than football. So football does not define who you are. It is a platform that you have been blessed with, a platform that you have been blessed to play and to bless other people. You will realize that as you play football and as you gain exposure and the press starts to take interest in your stories, that you have an opportunity to speak just as I am tonight that might touch people's lives. Because it all stems from what I said at the beginning of the speech. It's not about you and it's not about me, but it's about other people. And as you continue in this life, never forget who blessed you, and you give him all the glory. I appreciate your time, and God bless you all.